Hello, friends. Hey, so glad you chose to be with us today. Are you enjoying the beautiful weather? We actually have fall in Texas. Somebody write this down. It'll probably be summer next week. We're glad you took time to be with us today. In the studio, we have with us Allison. Hey, Allison.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So glad you chose to be. I see you got the email.
Got the memo.
Wear red. The holidays are here.
Mm-hmm. It's good color.
Oh yeah, really? Is it ever? Tell us about your family.
Well, I'm married to Chris, and we have been together for 19 years. We have 3 pretty awesome kids, range from 15 down to 11. So we're in our middle school, high school era, teaching people how to survive middle school and also the highway in Dallas while we learn to drive. So it's a crazy season that we're in, but it's fun. It keeps us going.
Yeah. So I don't think you're from here. Am I correct
No.
on that?
Speaking of red, I grew up in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh.
Go Razorbacks.
So sorry.
There's always time for red. I grew up in Northwest Arkansas and came to Dallas area for Bible college after I graduated and really never went back home to live full time. So I've been in Texas now longer than I've lived in my home state officially. Yeah.
So have your parents forgiven you for
Not yet. My mom still sends me Arkansas things from time to time to remind me where I'm from. But
remind you of your roots, right?
Yeah. So not quite.
Oh, that's funny. Now, you're a graduate of Southwestern?
I am a graduate of Southwestern, a.k.a. Nelson University.
Yes, I knew I was going to do that.
Yes.
But you were a graduate of
Southwestern. I was a graduate. I noticed on Facebook that they actually have officially changed that. And so where I went to college now says Nelson. Yeah. And I did not change that. That came from the IT world. They did that for me. Wasn't that nice?
So is that where you met Chris?
That is where we met. We both served as RAs in good old Seville.
Oh, my. Oh.
Good old Seville. Under Brady Durling. And it was almost love at first sight. It took him a little while, but we managed to work out some things. And we've been together doing ministry for 25 years at our church. So
I'm sorry, you have been a children's pastor for 25 years.
Yes, sir.
And at the same church. So why did you, when you were at Southwestern, I noticed that you had an emphasis on children in your degree. So why did you choose kids?
Well, honestly, I didn't go to school to be a kids pastor, do full-time ministry. Okay. I went to be an elementary teacher, and I had a heart to serve kids ministry no matter where I landed, because I did not feel like I was really qualified to do full-time ministry. A lot of that's back from my childhood, growing up with not in a Christian home necessarily. But the Lord kind of got a hold of my heart and told me that I could do full-time ministry and that it didn't matter what my parents did or where I came from. So then I changed it to kids ministry, probably because I was a little scared of anybody else, adult-wise, like a little intimidated, to say the least. But that's how I found Jesus, was through kids ministry myself, through going to VBS and things like that. So I just wanted to do my part to help kids find Jesus no matter where they were. So
was Dr. Campbell over the education department when you were there?
No, I don't think so. I remember Alexander, maybe it was Amy Alexander. Then Judy Giles was my advisor for a while, and then Dr. Langston is really who partnered with us, him and his wife, to get me my degree and get into kids ministry full-time. Dr. Dan Langston.
Shout out to Dr. Dan today.
The Langstons in general.
A.K. Danny, so.
Yeah.
Daddy and I.
He's where it's at, the OG.
Yeah. We went to, he was a child and a teenager at Bethel in Arlington when Barbara and I were there. And so, I ran into him right after he had got his doctorate. I said, "Hey, Danny." He says, "It's Dr. Dan." I went, "Hey, Danny."
Dr. Dan has a Bible thing on YouTube now, too. Dr. Dan, the Bible Man or something, where he does Bible teachings.
He did write a book this year that came out on the book of Revelation. Very well done.
Very cool.
Yeah,
okay, I'll have to look at that.
It's very simple to understand, which worked for me. You know?
Same.
And it's amazing how many people are talking about the end times now with all the turmoil that's taking place in our world. And the things that, once again, you talk about social media, people are putting out on social media, they're so far from the truth. You know, you kind of going, where where did that come from, right?
Exactly.
So it was one thing to start out in children's ministry 25 years ago. Why ministering to kids?
Well, honestly, I don't feel like there's anything else that God's called me to do right now. I used to think it was because I was intimidated by anybody else older. But I feel like kids ministry is where it's at. It's growing the next church, the next people who are going to be our world changers.
Right.
And I've searched my heart because I am getting older and I do want to still be relevant and be, purposeful. But every time I start to discover, try to think about what else God might have for me, it just always leads me back to kids ministry and just keep bringing people around me to help me fill in the gaps, right. As I get a little older.
Yeah. Technology changes. And the younger generation may need a little different method, but the message doesn't change.
For sure. Yeah.
And you have something to offer of been there, done that. And stability. You're comfortable in your skin. You're comfortable with the audience. And so many people have this philosophy that children and youth are the church of tomorrow.
Right.
We can't treat them as tomorrow. We have to treat them as today. Because if we don't treat them as the church of today, there is no church for tomorrow. Yeah. So what's your philosophy on ministering to kids?
Well, I feel like, I guess the bottom line is to let them see that their relationship with Jesus is a personal thing. It's not just about their parents and what their parents do, or how they got to the church, or Jesus's plan for them when they get older and can contribute to society. It's them owning a personal relationship with Jesus and what he wants them to do with that, how they can be world changers and how they can influence their kids on the playground, their friends on the playground right now instead of later on in life.
Throughout the Bible, you'll see people, the patriarchs, they were referred to as the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, the God of Moses. It's the same thing for us, if we're honest. It's the God of, if your parents did bring you to church, then it's the God of your parents. The key is it has to become their God.
Right.
And once they have that relationship, they understand that my Father cares about me. Has nothing to do with age. He cares about me. And once they do that, then the light bulb comes on. So I'm going to assume that one of your challenges at church is volunteers.
Oh, yes.
So how do you keep volunteers?
I try to reward them and praise them for all the things that I love about what they do and how they contribute to our team, making everyone feel like their job is important and we need them because it's true. Not trying to smooth them over. But honestly, one of the great things about being in the same kids ministry for 25 years is a lot of my volunteers that work with me like almost full time, if I could pay them, I would, are ones who went through my kids ministry, who have a personal relationship with me. I've never had as great of success like just doing an all call, hey, we need more volunteers in kids ministry. But building relationships with people and them becoming a friend of mine or understanding my heart for kids has always been a win, especially if they were in my kids ministry as an 8-year-old and they're still in our area when they get into middle school and high school, then they enjoy serving with me because they know who I am.
Right. So your role as your church right now, do you see yourself more as a rancher or more as a farmer? You understand that question?
No.
Okay. A rancher, he takes care of the hands.
Mm-hmm.
A farmer does the work.
Oh, I think it depends on what Sunday you're talking about, sir, on how many red circles show up in Planning Center. I definitely overarching would say at this point in my life, I am a rancher because we have a great team of people. And we just took off 6 weeks for our sabbatical and we had every Sunday covered. Every ministry hole that needed a volunteer or service, we had people there to do it. And they didn't need me. I helped set them up with all the things they needed before I left. So I think that would put me on more of a rancher level. But like I said, I'm ready in season and out of season. Last Sunday, we had about 10 declines in Planning Center. So I was in the thick of it, just like the old days, leading a class. we're in a season of transition on our Wednesday nights, and I literally have taught a different age group of class the last 6 weeks that we've been back from our trip, just to fill in the gap. And honestly, I love it that way. I want to be in the classroom still. I don't, or on the, the platform. I don't want just to watch everyone else do that, because it's the calling that God's put on my heart too, not just.
Right. I heard you say, I think I heard you say that magical word, sabbatical. Sabbatical means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And normally when we think about sabbatical, I think we normally think about a senior pastor. Mm-hmm. Having been in ministry for 25 years, you know the ins and outs. You know I like to use the word grind, but it's much more than grind. There's anytime you are investing in people's lives, there's it's a huge drain on you, not just physically, not just mentally, but emotionally, and you need that time away. So I'm sure there's some lead pastors out there that are watching this today, or maybe some board members, and they've never quite understood the importance of staff getting a sabbatical. Can you speak into that for us today?
I will tell you that I will never try to say that a staff pastor carries the same burden or responsibility as a senior pastor, but staff pastors carry a lot. And just like the joke of pastors only working on Sundays, like the staff pastors are the same, and it's a refresh and a reset that is necessary to thrive in moving forward, helping the pastor share the vision of the church. Reset matters. Being refreshed and just being able to rest, because ministry is definitely a full-time. It's 24/7. People call you after hours on a regular basis for prayer or consults, help me with this or work through the situation. And so if we can all understand that and realize it's happening all the time for everyone, and you want your staff to be healthy, you want them to want to keep serving. There's too much burnout in ministry in general. Yeah. And so why not move forward with sabbatical and rest, just to help protect the team, and then also help us do the best that we can, when we're on, we can actually be on, you know what I mean? Right.
You were talking about, you didn't use that word burnout, but that's the term that ran through my mind. I'm not real sure what's caused all of the failures in leadership the last few years, but obviously it's happening. It's not just happening here in the Metroplex; it's nationwide. Your church went through crisis a few years ago, and so there are other churches. And a few minutes ago, we were talking about some other churches before we came on air. It's an incredibly difficult time. You were there before the crisis, and you're still there today, which speaks volumes to you and to your husband. So for those that they're still in it, and there are churches here in the Metroplex, they're still in it. They're trying to, dig their out. What would be your encouragement to them today?
I think as being a part of a staff member that went through something that was turmoil. It was horrible to go through. Someone in that position, I would say, remember who called you into ministry or who called you to where you are, whether it be a lay person in your church or whether you're a staff person. Remember who called you, and who you're truly following ultimately is Jesus, right? His plan for you. Right. I had to kind of question myself of who am I following when I had to make decisions of whether or not we were going to stay or go. You know what I mean? In those kind of situations. Sure. We never felt settled to go because God called us there and we had a ministry there. And so it wasn't easy, but I would just say almost 11 years later, like it's a totally different experience now. But it was difficult. We had to ask ourselves, I'm following Jesus. I'm not following a person or a certain vision necessarily of what it's supposed to look like. And it was kind of like a day by day, event by event season for us. But we made it. We're on the flip side now and getting experience. It's amazing. All new things.
It's amazing what's happening at your church today.
Now we have joked about it to our pastor now and said, if there's ever something that goes down, like, we're not in it for round 2. Yeah, I don't know if we could put up with round 2.
Can't do that again.
Anyone can make it through round 1 though, for sure.
Yeah. Psalms, we try to give a nugget each week to our people. It's Psalm 78:4. It says, "We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about His power, His mighty wonders." Your faithfulness to kids, that's happening, and that's enabling. And I really believe that because of you decided to stay, you probably taught some lessons to your kids that they never ever thought were possible. You showed them how to stand during a very, very difficult time, and I applaud you for that. You know about our dream to build a new facility. As a matter of fact, you guys are how long have you been in the current building? Forgive me I know it's just
we actually my memories popped up we broke ground 3 years ago. So we've been in the building 2 years. 2 years. We spent a year rehabbing it. Yeah.
Well, your church took a huge step of faith moving from where you're at to the incredible facilities that you have today. We're taking a very similar leap of faith. We're believing God's going to enable us to build this absolutely debt-free. You've met and have worked with some of this new leadership team that the Lord has raised up, and they're missing a tool in their tool belt, and that's adequate facilities. The last thing we want to do is take and leave them behind this debt that every month all they're trying to do is how do we make this, building payment instead of reaching our city for Christ. So why should people get involved and help us today?
You have a passion and a desire to reach Dallas, right? Reach the inner city. And people need to understand your heart to serve. And by investing and seeing that it's more than just what's going on right this moment, like what is it going to look like 10 years from now? We were in our facility that was 10,000 square feet for, 15 years or something like that. And now we're in a building that's 60,000 square feet because the ultimate goal is how many people can find us as a church and find Jesus, find hope, right? If Metro has the ability to have this facility where they can have their services and not be spread out everywhere, you know what I mean? Or having, not knowing for sure, it's only going to keep you guys moving forward in doing your ministry that you guys have done so well, reaching all these kids. Like I've been to some of your programs before and using other people's buildings or having to be outside and the weather might not be right. What an amazing reach that you guys would have, having a new facility with all the opportunities behind it. So it's a win-win for everyone. It's for the ministry, ultimately for the kingdom, and moving forward, like we talked about, like we're not always going to be here. Someone else is going to be filling in for us when our time is done. And so why would you not want to leave a gift for the ministry as you move on,
Allison, thank you for being here today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for being an example, not just to the kids, but for others. People, they're trying to make decisions. What am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Hey, guys, we're so glad that you chose to be with us today. There was something that Allison said that really struck a chord with me, and that word is serve. When Barbara and I started a few years back, we were just looking for an opportunity to serve. We're a few years down that road, still looking for a way to serve. You can help us serve today. I'm asking you to go to our webpage, dallasmetro.org, click on All In, then click on What is All In. And underneath there, you'll see all the great pictures that Michael has drawn for us. And we're ready to build. The plans are finished. Our team, we're ready to move forward, but we're also committed to do this absolutely debt-free, which means we need you to take and click on Donate. And I'm asking you, would you take and prayerfully consider, would you make a commitment to help us monthly for either the next 12 or 18 months? And as we partner together, we're going to see God do a miracle, a testimony to the goodness of God. It's not going to be just us for the church. When our city sees us rally together to build something to help the hurting, it's going to be a tremendous testimony. Hey, thanks for being with us. I'll see you next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.